This is Mercy Pilkington for Good E-Reader at Digital Book World. I'm talking right now to Jason Freeman. I have to point out, when asking for his official title within the company, he is the Minister of Strategic Growth. So I'm sorry, you have to explain that to me.
Yes, the minister. Well, we have a lot of fun. So in a startup, you work really hard, long hours, doing things you're passionate about. And to stay sane, I think we oftentimes will try to inject fun and work to entertain each other and enjoy each other's company as much as our passion to work alongside each other and do something really hard and challenging problems or overcoming challenging problems. And so that's where the kind of cheeky title comes from. So.
And the people who use Libboo also have an equally interesting title. They're buzzers, and now you actually have a mega buzzer status.
We do.
So what are the buzzers doing on Libboo?
So buzzers are driving discovery. At Libboo, we think, and we've embraced this what we think is an understanding of a timeless problem, which is talent gets lost in crowded spaces. And for us, there are a lot of talented authors, independent, published. We're not dogmatic about who we want to support, but we do believe that their work just deserves to get discovered. There's some great content out there. And so with that said, it's our goal to help to accelerate, empower them to do that. And we believe the best way to do that is connecting them with their biggest fans. And so when their biggest fans want to share and talk and just share with the world what they've found, we have coined the term buzzer for them. Because they're buzzing about a book, and they're actively doing that, energetically doing that. It's probably a good description for them. So,
one of the great paradoxes right now that we're learning about the industry is that even authors who do find the good fortune and the hard work to get a traditional publishing deal are still responsible for so much of their own promotion. So
sure.
The work is still cut out for them. You don't have the great promotion budgets that we used to hear about. So as you said, traditional authors and self-published authors are welcome to submit content for review to Libboo. And
Sure.
so talk about that, how an author does that.
Sure. So the first part of your question, in terms of how does an author accelerate this process themselves? How do they encourage discoverability of the work that they've done, that they've worked so hard on, that they've spent hours on, and a lot of kind of blood, sweat, and potentially tears on getting that content to the world. Really at Libboo, what we think is it's about building community around that content. And so part of our process of understanding authors that we're going to have on Libboo is, are they passionate about community? Are they passionate about empowering that community, engaging with that community of fans and advocates to share their content? And so we believe that's going to be their quickest route or most effective route, I should say, to success, is building community around their content. And we at Libboo want to help them, empower them to do that.
Now, of course, authors need to work any outlet that they can to get this discoverability that we were discussing earlier, but I think it's almost a 50-50 split, the benefits for the readers coming to Libboo, people who can find this book and help, on this
Sure.
easy-to-use platform where it's able to stand out. So what do readers get out of it?
So readers find and can trust that they're going to find great content on Libboo, and that word trust of both that we try to establish with our publishing partners, with our author partners, both independent and published, and with our readers, that we're going to give them not only a great place to find great content, but we're going to give them the tools to go share that content with the world and understand what that sharing means. So if they go on and they love to talk about a book on Twitter, what does that mean for, but either as an author or as a fan and as a reader? What does that mean for their community? Are people listening when you say, hey, you got to go read this book? Are people coming back and actually taking your recommendation? And so at Libboo, we're working to understand that whole process of, whether you want to go review a book on Goodreads, to talk about it on Facebook, or share it on StumbleUpon. There's so many platforms, wonderful platforms, where people are talking about great content, and we want to live there with you and understand what that means, both from an author perspective, but also from as a fan and as a reader. What does it mean to share?
I actually, perusing the site a few days ago, I also noticed that you've got just as many circumstances where the author himself comes back into the page for his book and interacts with the reader. So there's reviews and comments, but you've got the author commenting back to people's comments on that page. So what does that do for discoverability, but also for building lifetime fans of that work?
That's a really great question, and it's one we've been studying. And so, just to give your readers some context, right now at Libboo, we're learning. We're actively and deliberately learning what this means. We don't have the answer. We are looking to kind of find the right questions right now in terms of discoverability. It's a buzzword. I know that it's something that people are talking about, but they don't really understand. Well, we as the people we've talked to, that's the statements we hear is, it's an important thing, but we don't know how to accomplish, helping an author get discovered. And so to speak to your question about authors talking to their fans and engaging with their fans, that's a powerful tool that an author has to build and develop community. The people who are passionate and advocating for your work, they may be looking for an opportunity to connect with you and to share the experience with you of that content, of the why you wrote it, and the maybe just sharing appreciation for somebody who's willing to share your work. And so at Libboo, we're seeking to understand what that means. Does it help a book to get in terms of discovery, and really looking at it in an objective way? I mean, if the data tells us that it doesn't, that's going to be a really interesting find. Our results so far in our little experiment that started in September of last year, in terms of this seeking to understand discovery, has led us to believe that it's a really powerful tool for the sample of books that are currently on Libboo. So with that said, I believe from the data that we've seen so far, at least the trends that we've seen so far, that it is an incredibly powerful tool, whether it's on Libboo or on other platforms as well. So.
Right. I've also noticed there is one additional feature of Libboo that actually gives back to the buzzers. Mm-hmm. So they have the ability to earn codes that they can keep or they can give away to some of these books that they're buzzing. So they're able to share not only a recommendation,
Sure.
but actually share the book with somebody.
Sure.
So how do they do that? How does that eligibility come about?
So that's really interesting. So what we were seeking to understand is what makes a reader, a buzzer tick, and really be able to share that with both that reader, and share what we're learning about, you as a reader and consumer of books, and how influential or popular you are in terms of your recommendations, but also to understand that process with publisher and author partners, so and for that matter, agent partners. So when we were first discussing this, we started to talk about how content could be used as a tool in engaging those buzzers, engaging those people, fans talking about books. So we've gone through the process of creating a system where you can have a coupon, as you just described, that's encoded with a timestamp and the ability to information around how that content will be redeemed. And what we've seen is it can empower and engage buzzers in their communities, so they can share, as you mentioned, Mercy, they can share with their communities this free content. And so that content may increase their popularity and influence in the community that they're serving. It's an opportunity for them to actually discover and read new content themselves. And so we're really excited about that opportunity to use it as a learning tool, as a tool for us to understand what that means to an author in terms of accelerating the discovery. I've used that word a couple of times, but could you use free content? Could you use connecting to a buzzer as a way to engage them? All of these things we're using in our kind of arsenal, our tool chest to understand this process.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time again. This is Mercy Pilkington for Good E-Reader at Digital Book World.